Hi guys, can you hear me? Okay, perfect. All right, well, thanks very much for coming, guys. I appreciate it. I think we'll get started here. What we want to do is just talk a little bit about um, what we have in store for the future of Safecoin and where things are headed. Um, One of those items is the roadmap. We want to start to get into the roadmap of what we're going to be doing over the next few months and weeks. Another item in particular is the validators. I know a lot of people are interested in starting to earn SafeCoin with validators, and that's something we've been working on, which will become possible quite soon. So, if we look at um, our roadmap, and in order to look at our roadmap, I'll just post the link. It's basically safecoin.org. Right on the front page, we have a roadmap. I will paste that in. I'm still a little bit of a YouTube newbie. We'll get better as I go here. Um, 1 second here. Right. So on a roadmap, I'm just looking to see if I can actually switch screens. I believe I can. I'll have to learn how to do that after. I believe I can switch right to that screen. I've seen it done. But on our roadmap, we have it starts off with Q4 and goes all the way to Q2 2022. Now, the roadmap is still a living document. We change it as we see fit. We believe that in crypto, things change regularly. Now, this is definitely our most exciting roadmap SafeCoin has ever had. Now, if we look at where it starts, we started off in Q4 2020. We have preparation for 2021 roadmap goals and a new chain announced. So, on December 31st, 2020, last day of 2020, I went on live and made an announcement that we were going to be changing things. We went into some of the reasons why. Those reasons are very apparent now. We're already seeing tremendous benefits from our new chain, and we're just starting to bring some of the new features online. Um, Q1 2021, which is what we're in right now. We promised a new state-of-the-art code base, which was Solana with a one-to-one swap, and that included a migration from proof of work to proof of stake. So we are largely on the new chain now, as promised for Q1. It is done as a one-to-one swap. So for people tuning into this or watching after, what we've done is we've moved from a Komodo-based chain to a Solana-based chain. We are the world's only Solana-based fork, and we are also obviously the first. And we thus are moving to proof of stake right now. We're in the middle of a 60-day swap period, which ends on May 9th. So May 9th is the last day to swap your old coins for new coins. After that, you will remain on the old chain if you have not moved over yet. So we really, really urge people to move onto the new chain if they want to be part of decentralized finance and where this community is headed. Of course, it's entirely your choice. But we at least need you to be aware of it. So, we'd ask everybody to do their best to make people know what's coming. We want to basically reach out to the entire SafeCoin community that's existed since 2018 and let them know. And I think we still have more work to do there. We've already sent out an email. We've done a number of AMAs and announcements, but we're going to be doing a lot more in the near future and making sure everybody knows. Now, things start to get interesting in Q2 of 2021. Not that they aren't already, but that's where we're really going to see action. So, for one, as mentioned, with the 60-day swap period ends. For two, SafeSwap DEX platform comes online. We had hoped that we might even be able to get that out in Q1. Seems unlikely now, but work is being done on it, and we might see it soon. It is actually quite beautiful. We are confident that it will be probably, in my opinion, the best DEX in the world when we put it out, and we're going to work hard to keep it that way. So I don't think it can be understated. Like, I know a lot of people are quite excited about earning Safecoin on the validators, and we've got great news there. But I think that won't actually the driving factor here is what we can do. I believe that is what will really drive us in the end. Is just simply it is going to be the best available anywhere, and we've worked extremely hard to get to a point where we can say that. To the point of actually changing our whole chain. A number of other items are for Q2 are the Safecoin validators. Now, the DEX is something that we think will come out quite soon. We're careful about when we say that, but I think the DEX will probably come out within a month. What we want to do is actually have the DEX out. Now, the DEX will be called SafeSwap. We want it out before May 9th because some people don't want to go on a centralized exchange to swap over their coins, and that's fine. So what we'll have is we will have an on-chain experience for them when they can actually swap their coins over SafeSwap. And for that very reason, it is very important to us that we get it out before May 9th. It might be May 1st, but it has to be out before May 9th. Now, the Safecoin validators are coming out even sooner. We have been working on them and testing since the chain was released, and even previous. There's been a lot of work done on the validators, just firming up our consensus and making sure everything works. So some of the things we're doing, which are different, is we actually have a consensus which is 80 to 300 times more efficient than Solana's consensus. And Solana's done an amazing job with their tech, which is obviously why we chose them. But we think we can produce an addition which appeals to communities, which allows everybody to contribute as validators, and everybody to earn for contributing to the network. So that's really what we're doing here. And the validators, we expect those to be ready. I mean, people can already create a validator. They're just not going to earn anything. They can also create a full history node. And I really encourage people to. This is the best time to create a full history node. The validators themselves, in terms of actually voting and earning on the chain, we expect that to be ready this week. Within the next 7 days. I'm tentatively optimistic that it'll be ready this weekend. We're quite close. And there's going to be a two-stage approach to the validators coming out. First stage will be people will be allowed to vote on chain and actually contribute to the network. They'll earn a small amount. The next stage, and this is the part people will be, of course, very interested in, is we're going to be looking at our emissions. We're going to be looking at how it's operating, and we will make a slight adjustment to rewards so that people get rewarded properly. So, of course, that's what people are very interested in, and essentially how that will work is we're going to look at our emissions. Now, our emissions are currently sitting, around I think 7% or 6%, and they change over time. But what we do is we allow the validators to accept delegations for one. So you can accept delegations from others, and then you can set your own rates on what you charge for that. Very, very similar to Solana in terms of that, uh, except that we're on a fair launch chain. Now, when the Uh, in terms of how much you earn, we're going to look at basically switching it to 100% going to this process. Whereas right now on Safecoin's old chain, if you look at the safe nodes, they get about 15% of emissions. And we were looking at increasing that. We've since moved to the new chain, so we're not going to be making any changes to Safecoin Classic. But the idea is to move that instead of having the validators earning 15% of consensus, we want them to be earning basically 100% of consensus. So those who contribute to the Safecoin network in order to keep it going will get, uh, sorry, I said consensus, 100% of emissions instead of 15%. So you can do the math on that. The earnings will be a lot better. Also consider that it's possible there will be less validators than before, but so again, this is good news for people looking to earn, but we're going to be working very hard to make the validators so accessible that we actually have a similar number from the old network. That's really our goal. Plus, we expect, we're already seeing an uptick in growth, a lot of interest. So we do expect there to be a good number of validators in the system. Um, Before I go further, should I address that? And do people have questions about the validators? So if we move to the next roadmap item, we've got SafePay 2.0 coming out. So what we're going to be doing is so currently SafeCoin or the new SafeCoin is accessible. You can store it in two ways. You can store it on a web wallet, which is wallet.safecoin.org, wallet.safecoins.org, sorry, or you can store it via file system. You can basically create similar to a wallet.dat, like similar to your previous chain. You can create a file and store it there. We want to provide a mobile offering fairly soon here. We'll be calling it SafePay 2.0, and it's going to be coming out in Q2. So we've done quite a bit of preliminary work on this. We see it working quite well. And there's two different approaches. Right now, we're at a stage where we're working in both, and soon we're gonna switch to just one. Um, so yeah, we're quite excited. We think once we do have SafePay 2.0 out, it's something that the Solana community can use as well. G-Man's Fines, good name. My high school buddies used to call me G-Man. um, well, there's a command line wallet available right now for the new SafeCoin. Now Solana itself does not have a desktop wallet, and they're in the top 30. So, I mean, we have to decide how important it is because the people were, it really is a good nick. Um, the people we're looking to attract don't necessarily have huge interest in desktop wallets. They're more interested in decentralized finance. Like that's really what they do. So keep in mind, SafeSwap itself will also have um, wallet capabilities integrated with our web wallet. But yeah, we can probably put out a desktop wallet now. If once we get SafePay running, SafePay does actually have a desktop version, so that's one way. Um, we can definitely there's nothing stopping us from putting out a desktop wallet. We're just maybe a little bit hesitant as to whether there is actually a lot of interest for the desktop wallet once we start. Because right now we're really focused on the original Safecoin community. Once people start coming in here from Solana, from some of the decentralized finance communities, they don't typically have huge interest in desktop wallets. So that's a bit of we're just still unsure how much time to put into that. Correct. Yeah, yeah. We've got the command line, and the command line works really well. So we'll see. I'm open to creating a desktop wallet, and there's nothing stopping us from doing it. I just want to make sure that enough people want it. Yeah, you can store it in the web wallet for now. Obviously, you can keep it on Safe Trade if you want. We never recommend leaving coins on exchanges, but you can do that. The web wallet, or if you're if you prefer, you can actually download the command line, and we can help you. You can set up you can set up basically an offline wallet through command line. Yeah. Yeah, exchanges are really not, we don't encourage leaving coins on exchanges. Now that might change a little bit. With Safe Swap, it's going to be non-custodial, so that's a whole different ball game. Um, all right, so that's SafePay 2.0. So basically, that'll be our mobile offering, and yes, we could consider a desktop as well. It's not overly hard to produce a desktop. We just need to make sure that there's enough interest there. Um, Now Q3, where this some now depending on, I wouldn't mind if some of this stuff happens earlier than Q3, to be completely honest. Some of this stuff could happen pretty quick. We don't want to promise it yet. So in my mind, I see potentially some of these things getting bumped earlier on the roadmap, but we're going to leave it as is for now. Q3, we got safe assets and contracts. Now, the reason I say that is because actually safe assets already work. We just haven't done the documentation for them. But you can already create a SafeCoin token on the new chain. So Q3 is realistically our safe assets and our contracts, which we've slated for Q3. They already work. What we mean by Q3 is when we're going to be really promoting them, utilizing them, uh, creating a development environment where people can come in and create their own contracts, create their own tokens, and be supported uh, on some infrastructure. So that's really where we're going to be offering expertise and documentation and help with them. Um, Now, SafeBridge. SafeBridge is again something that already works for Q3. We already have, the problem is we have so many features in our new chain. It's going to take us a while to really get them all utilized the way they can be. A lot of that will start as soon as we have the validators finished. So SafeBridge already works with Ethereum. We can already bridge to Ethereum, and that's pretty powerful. Um, But on top of that, on top of the bridging to Ethereum, we would like to bridge to other chains as well. Now, Solana does as well. So we're going to be following their roadmap. We think the bridging is just extremely important in this new age. So likely what we'll do is we'll look at what Solana is looking to bridge, and we may take advantage of that and then choose additional coins to bridge. Um, and we've sort of put those throughout our roadmap, and we'll talk about those more later. Um, Now, hardware wallet integration. That's a item for Q3. If we can get it earlier, we will. The reason we put that a little bit later is because we might be waiting on some other people to actually put that out. We've looked at talking to the Ledger to get SafeCoin on Ledger. Um, they're going through a bit of a rough patch right now, so we have a little bit of hesitancy with Ledger, but Ledger does work with Solana, and we can easily get Ledger to work with SafeCoin. So that is a key item we're looking at. If it's not Ledger, then we will do another hardware wallet. But especially for our brand, it's just so important to have hardware wallet integration. And yeah, for now we have that as Q3. If we can get it done earlier, we definitely will. The next roadmap item is optimized proof of history. So, uh, Solana's really done an incredible thing with proof of history, because what proof of history does is it solves the fundamental problem of decentralized currencies, which is what happened first. So because there is no central source, it's very hard to determine which transaction happened first, and thus it is possible to confuse the network into doing double spends. They've solved that. Everything else is like most other people's attempts at solving this are kind of workarounds, right? They've moved to proof of work to proof of stake in hopes that proof of stake double spends less, sometimes true, sometimes not. Other coins do things like you know, previously we did cross-chain notarization, which works really, really well, but you're dependent on the chain you're notarizing to. So, for instance, Bitcoin has limitations, so you're limited to those. But those are all essentially, if we're being honest, those solutions are all workarounds. What Solana's done is they've said, let's solve the fundamental problem, which is what transaction happened first. And if you know that, then you can function just as well as any centralized system in terms of preventing double spends. So they've done that, and they've done it on an SHA-256 hashing algorithm. Now, the advantages of an SHA-256 hashing algorithm are that there's a ton of research which has gone into it, obviously with Bitcoin, and um, we know the data very well, right? We know what an ASIC can produce. We know all the obstacles. We know if somebody wanted to be malicious, what they'd be capable of doing and what they wouldn't be capable of doing. That said, the disadvantages of SHA-256 used for proof of history is that when you're using that algorithm, again, um, you're limited a little bit by the fact that ASICs can overtake your network, for instance, and uh, because of that, it is actually possible to get a cleaner consensus if you change that algorithm. So we're going to be looking at doing something which our community has always had a lot of interest in, which is ASIC resistant algorithms, um, potentially even GPU resistant algorithms, but it depends. Now, this is a single threaded solution. It's the only thing in Solana which is a single threaded solution. But what essentially this means is when we're going to pick um, a different algorithm to improve our consensus. Um, whether that means one thing we've looked at is Varus hash, for instance. Another is RandomX. When we pick one of these, we will be able to process even faster than we can now and at a higher level of security, right? So our brand cares a lot about security, and that does play into speed. So we will be safer and faster when we change this algorithm. Okay, there's lots of questions. I'm going to stop talking and read the questions. Oh, actually, I think those all got covered right in the chat. Okay, we are good. Um, okay, guys, please do feel free to ask questions in there. So that takes us up to Q3. Q4, so by this time, by the end of Q3, we have a fully functioning DEX. We are bringing, and people need to understand that, like when we talk about safe assets and contracts, that is like we're going to be basically bringing people in to help them create their own tokens, create their own contracts, swap them on SafeSwap, um, basically be able to offer all the things that all of the major DeFi chains can offer, except ours will be actually faster and more secure. So it is extremely powerful. Now we get into Q4. Now something that's been on our roadmap for quite a while, which I think every chain needs to address. I know Varus has addressed this. Digibyte's addressed this. A number of chains have addressed this. It's possible that Solana might address it too, so we'll see. But if not, we want to get IDs in there. So safe IDs would basically be allow you to authenticate yourself on the Safecoin network. Now that can lead to a whole bunch of other opportunities, like for instance, decentralized KYC, You can have sort of your a social identity, like a social identity username, for instance. The real key part for us that we want to start really is two-factor authentication. So the ability to do two-factor authentication on Safe ID, which we would then use on many of our other products and offer on other people's products. Definitely Safe Trade would use it if needed. Yeah, but two-factor authentication is really key, and we have the perfect chain to do it because it's instantaneous response, right? So you can actually authenticate yourself in, and you don't have to wait for the blockchain to reach finality. You can just log right in. So it actually makes more sense, and we're also set up for the data storage for it. So it just makes more sense to do this on the Safecoin chain, especially with the powerful features of our smart contracts. All right, Michael, the entrepreneur. Thank you very much for joining us. I really appreciate it. Question is, will Safecoin be doing anything in the DeFi space like supply borrow options similar to Mantradeo or Keeperdeo? Yes, yes. A roadmap item we've had since 2018 is something called Safe Loans. And we're definitely going to be offering lending options. It's actually been on a roadmap for a long time, and we realized in order to do lending properly, you need powerful, powerful smart contracts, and that's something we have on the new chain. Um, so actually, on our roadmap, man, would I ever love to share my screen. And I can tell you that's something I'm going to learn right after this YouTube show. If you look on our roadmap, which is on safecoin.org, just at the bottom there, we have a lending platform scheduled for Q2 2022. It is very possible, and we were talking about this earlier, that we will move some of those items into 2021. We're kind of like under promising right now and over delivering. Obviously, with the powerful features of our chain, a lot of this stuff can be implemented quite quickly. Uh, until we've spent a little bit more time with it, we don't want to overpromise, but it's very possible that we could start knocking off a number of these roadmap items in 2021 fairly early on. And a lending platform is something we definitely want to explore. And then we have for a long time. Also insurance, and that is an acute. So I'll talk about that more shortly here. But yes, the answer to your question is yes, and it might happen sooner than what's in our roadmap. All right, we have another question um, about fiat, I believe. I will answer that as best I can. Um, which think the answer to that is stablecoins, but I'm not positive. So if you could clarify, that would help. But yes, so we will be offering stablecoins on Safecoin. You guys may have noticed a couple days ago, SafeTrade implemented Ethereum. Now, SafeTrade, since they implemented Ethereum, they are also capable of um, listing stablecoins. And I suspect we will be seeing that from SafeTrade in the near future. SafeTrade will start to offer fiat-based stablecoins. It's possible that they'll introduce onboarding as well, but those stablecoins will start. So we have Ethereum on SafeTrade and we have SafeCoin on SafeTrade. We're going to see those stablecoins start to be interoperable. So what that means is, say you have US dollars on the exchange, you will be able to withdraw those US dollars on Ethereum, or you can withdraw those US dollars right onto the Safecoin chain because Safecoin will start to introduce stablecoins. in the near future, and that's all part of our safe. If you look at our roadmap for Q3, we have safe assets and safe contracts. That's really where we'll start to see that, along with the introduction of Safe Swap. So what you'll be able to do with both Safe Trade and Safe Swap is you will be able to withdraw your fiat either onto the Ethereum chain, or you can draw it right onto the Safecoin chain. The advantage of withdrawing on the Safecoin chain is that it is instant, it is instantaneous, and it is far, far cheaper. So if you want to withdraw $10 or $100 on Ethereum, you're going to pay 50% or more. Potentially, the entire withdrawal will be paid in fees. On Safecoin, it'd be basically no fees. Like it would be, there is a small fee. It's 0.0001 Safecoins. Correct. Yes. Yes. There's going to be, yeah. So that's right. So it'll be stable coins. Yes. So Tether will play into that. We may arbitrage them a little bit. Um, now, if you look on Solana, they already have USDC Coinbase stablecoin. So that's already built into Solana, and we will also be offering it on Safecoin. So yes, you'll see those stablecoins on Safecoin, and then they will be available on SafeSwap and SafeTrade. Now, for people who need to move to other markets, you can use you can do that with Ethereum as well, but you just have to pay way too much. Okay, feel free to hit me up with more questions, guys, as we move along here. Next for Q4 2021 roadmap is our Polkadot bridge. Now, this is a tentative roadmap item only for one reason. Is Solana might beat us to it. I know Solana is also looking at making a Polkadot bridge. And if they actually do, we will obviously use theirs. We will just bring over the code and use theirs. Now, if they don't get to it, then we're going to. This is not a roadmap item which we expect to come earlier, because it does involve an incredible amount of coding and modification of our existing bridge. We do believe that Polkadot will play a huge role in the future. When we decided to go with Solana as our chain, we had a list of candidates. The number 2 candidate on our list was Polkadot. So we do expect Polkadot to play a large role. And everything we're seeing so far suggests that it will. And for that reason, we need a bridge to Polkadot. We see it as very important. It's already important now. It would be a big news now, but we think by later in the year, be even bigger news. So we're unlikely to get that out before Q4 just because of the amount of effort that needs to go into it. But by the end of this year, you guys should see a Polkadot bridge. And the only question is, are we going to produce it, or is Solana going to produce it? No, absolutely. I appreciate your questions, and I can understand what you're saying. So thank you very much. Um, Privacy implementation is next on our roadmap. So this, if we can do this earlier, we will. Again, this is potentially challenging for some reasons. But the Solana chain was really, really, really always made to be ideal for privacy. It's on their roadmap too, but we think we are likely going to beat them, because we are not bound to the same regulations they are. They are, as an IEO, it is hard for them to put out privacy implementation, and for us, it is not as hard. Um, Privacy on the new Safecoin chain looks really good. ZK snarks are slow. ZK snarks are very, very slow. They hold up chains. You cannot do many of them at once. They don't scale, and you see that in some of the privacy coins as they gain popularity. they really, really struggle with some of these issues. On the Solana chain, we don't. You can do privacy. Now, this is in theory because it's not implemented yet, but you can run ZK snarks on a Solana or Safecoin chain um, basically instantaneously and in large volumes. So it should scale and it should be fast. It really could be the best privacy implementation in the world. And we're quite excited about it. Unfortunately, again, this is a major undertaking, so we have left it in Q4. Next one is liquidity pool integration. So what we're looking at here is making the liquidity available across multiple markets. An example of this is integration between SafeTrade and SafeSwap, but also bringing in integration with other exchanges like Binance, KuCoin, FTX, making other decentralized markets and centralized markets available in SafeSwap. So, and right on chain as well. Another one we've looked at is potentially doing liquidity integration with Verus once their solution comes out. I will check for more questions. Okay. So Q1 2022. Again, it's possible some of this stuff may come out sooner. There is a mistake in our roadmap. I just caught it. Um, okay, so Q1 2022 oracles. So what this is bringing in information from the outside world into your chain. Now, Solana is working on this right now. Um, they were not previously fantastic at it, but they are getting better. And so that's one reason we put it out a little bit is we're waiting for some of the work they're doing. But we want, so as that develops, we can bring information in from the outside world and do great things with it. The example you see with this is Chainlink. Chainlink, this is really their whole thing is oracles. And one thing you guys may have noticed is that Chainlink is slowly moving over to Solana. So they are moving a lot of their stuff over to Solana, and we're seeing it with a lot of the Oracle based stuff. They're finding that Solana is a better home. We feel that there's a niche there for us as a community based project to really provide, truly decentralized oracles. Um, and so that's definitely a big one for us. Now, next on the roadmap is a bit of a mistake. Um, the improved proof of hash algo RandomX, that's actually going to be coming out, we hope, in Q3 2021. Next on our list is a Binance Chain Bridge. This is something, obviously, I think people already know from the time we did our roadmap, the Binance Chain Bridge was not such a big deal. Binance Chain has just in the last few weeks become a massive, massive thing. And we need to bridge with Binance Chain for sure. Now, looking at a roadmap as it stands, this could change, but my understanding is, Solana is kind of looking at the Polkadot bridge, which means we will likely be looking at the Binance Chain bridge. So it's very likely, it's possible. What I would like to see, hopefully, is that we can use Solana's own code to bridge into Polkadot, and that Binance Chain, we may be doing that ourselves. So we'll know more, in the coming weeks as to how that will play out. But we want to bridge with all the top DeFi coins. It's so important to be able to bridge with them. All right. Next up is SafeChat 2.0. SafeChat 2.0 is the truly envisioned plan of SafeChat. What we're going to be able to do in SafeChat 2.0 is we're going to be able to actually do decentralized video conferencing And there's a specific order to this. The SafeChat 2.0, SafeChat already works quite well. To be completely honest, we're using YouTube today. YouTube has a wide audience, but our SafeChat is, for those of you who have used it, it's quite good. SafeChat is quite good, to be quite honest. Um, Now, you've noticed in Q4 2020 when we have our Safe ID. Now, the reason we put Safe ID ahead of SafeChat is what we see is once we have Safe ID functioning, we can then put SafeChat on top of the Safe ID. And what that means is basically you can log into SafeChat using Safecoin on chain. So Safecoin will essentially be guiding SafeChat in terms of things like logins, user permissions, network routing that can all happen on chain with Safecoin once we have Safe ID in there. So that's why Safe Chat comes after Safe ID. That's really when we can do a proper video conferencing implementation, which is truly decentralized. Um, just checking for questions here. Okay. Avalanche Bridge 2022. The Avalanche Bridge is, I would call it tentative right now. That's pretty far out, but we do have high hopes for Avalanche as well. We think Avalanche could be quite popular. So, definitely that's in our plans, and we're watching them closely. Solana has no plans to integrate Avalanche. We do. We think they could be a big part of the future, and if they are, then definitely we'll see that integration. Um, Now, the other thing is these bridges are going to get easier as we get more experience with them, to be completely honest. Now, here we see the insurance and lending platforms. So, this is what was discussed earlier. The insurance lending platforms could potentially happen earlier. We don't want to promise that yet, but it's possible that those two items could be bumped up on the roadmap. There is already existing code out there for them, and that's why it is possible to potentially have them out earlier. Now, um, these two items have always been on our roadmap, and they were a consideration for why we moved to the Solana chain. It just runs so much better with Solana smart contracts than it does with what we previously had. Um, Next up, let me just check for questions. Next up, we have the Cardano Bridge. Now, the Cardano Bridge is a big deal. Um, it's something we've considered actually bumping up as well. Cardano is doing extremely well these days. They have an enormous amount of development, and when we considered which chain to go with, Cardano was one of those chains. There's reasons we didn't. They were good reasons. But I do believe that Cardano will play a big role in the future as well. So we're looking at doing a bridge with them. So why the bridges are so important is we eventually want to have sort of like this ubiquitous ability to move across diverse projects, all decentralized. Um, and eventually you'll see that a store of value can move um, around the world very easily through entirely different projects and still maintain its value. I think 2021, 2022, we're going to learn a lot about what store of value really is and change a lot of perceptions about it. Do you guys have more questions about the roadmap, or would you like me to go back to the validators? Okay, so what I'm going to get into next is timelines. And I'm going to talk about short term timelines. We're going to talk about what's happening within the next few days and weeks. The next thing we will see is the ability for people to start up their own validators. I know, granted, you can actually do that now, but actually have the validators voting on the next chain and be an active part of consensus. We think it's something we were hoping to actually have ready for this meeting, but we expect that it will be ready probably within the next 1 to 2 days. Now, as soon as we have that, we can really start moving forward with our marketing as well. Once we have our consensus finalized, it's very, very important to get that right. So we expect to see the validators contributing to consensus within the next, say, 48 hours. And from that point, we will be looking at emissions and setting rewards for the validators. And we have a lot of room there, quite honestly. So, um, you know, so far, a lot of Safecoin has moved over to the new chain and a lot hasn't. So we do believe there's a lot of lost Safecoin out there. There's a lot of Safecoin out there which just be completely lost. We're going to work really, really hard to reach out and talk to as many people as we can over the next month here. But in the event that um, not everybody is able to transfer their coins over or can no longer find their coins, um, it is a very real possibility that um, our max supply, or sorry, our supply will drop from 33 million to, potentially under 30 million. Now, as our supply drops, of course, rewards go up, everything goes up. The math works better. So, I mean, that is nice. Crypto Chronic, good to see you. Thanks for coming. Yeah, we don't normally have AMAs. We don't normally have anything on Saturdays, to be completely honest. So thanks very much for coming, guys. I appreciate it. Um, the reason we're doing it on Saturday is because it's my son's birthday tomorrow. So gonna be spending the day with him and then back at Safecoin when he goes to sleep. So um yeah, so for in terms of timeline, we're going to see um a focus on rewards this week. Yeah, it threw a lot of people off. Well, anyway, this will all be recorded so we can advertise it tomorrow as well and make sure people see it. Um, there's going to be a focus on rewards so that people have an understanding of how much they're going to earn, and I think they're going to be very, very happy about what they see. The numbers are going to work out much, much better. And the number one reason is because we are moving from proof of work to proof of stake, right? So all those mining rewards now go to validation. Now, once that is out, the next two things you guys will see, and this is sort of reflected in the roadmap, but we're going to see more wallet support, and we're going to see safe swap. We're very, very excited about safe swap. I don't think people realize how big of a deal safe swap is and what it can do. Yeah, so one question is, will there be a minimum balance? In the uh, in the classic setup, you have with Solana, you need 10 coins to set up a validator and start. We don't know if we're going to change that. We might actually leave it like that. We think there's some aspects of that which are better. Um, the thing about running a validator is that if you don't have collateral, you can actually lose money. So there's no requirement, but there kind of is. Because if you don't have any collateral, you're just not going to earn. Um, so conveniently, actually, we think it's the profitability point will be somewhere around 10,000 safe coins. You're going to need at least 10,000 safe coins to be profitable. Now, whether or not we put in a minimum, like, whether we change the minimum from 10 safe to 10,000 safe, is not really determined yet. We don't have a burning need to, but we're really open to your thoughts on that. Like, we don't want to be we don't want to do the and no disrespect to them, but we don't want to do the EOS thing where you need something like 3% of the chain value in order to validate. But we could set in a minimum balance if people want it. Next question. I'll be able to send Ethereum directly to SafeTrade. How will the rates and fees be affected? Guess I don't fully understand how the ETH bridge works. Okay. Um, so yeah, there's a few different ways to answer that question. And just for clarity, so SafeTrade has already um, listed Ethereum. They listed it yesterday. So you can send Ethereum to SafeTrade right now, and the fees are 0.02 for withdrawals. No charge for deposits, but you have to have a minimum deposit of 0.02 ETH. Now, I think your other question, your main, what you're talking about is the Ethereum bridge and how that works. So the Ethereum bridge works a few different ways. One of the really important ways is actually um, it bridges to the decentralized features of Ethereum. So, say you have a stable coin. Um, an example would be USDC. You've got your USDC and it's sitting on your Ethereum. Okay, yeah, yeah. I think I'm sort of I'm leading into that question now. Yeah, yeah. Your next question is wallets are interchangeable. I can just withdraw ETH or ERC20 from Binance, for instance. Where how can I take the full advantage of Safecoin? Yes, so you can actually move um, your ERC20 or your ETH to Safe Swap or Safe Trade. And say so USDC is something that is a good ERC20 example of something that will be supporting right on top of the Safecoin blockchain. So you can move your ERC20 USDC, um, from Binance or wherever, and you can move it to, for instance, SafeSwap or SafeTrade, and convert it to it being right on top of the Safecoin chain. So what that means basically is the Safecoin chain is able to take ERC20 tokens and convert them, basically interchange them with Safecoin tokens. And the reason you want to do that is because the speed is significantly faster. You get instantaneous speed, instantaneous trading, decentralized, and you also have almost no fees. And D is here. Thanks for showing up, D. Good to see you. And so, D's question is, what are the main advantages and products we will make the basis for our marketing? What can we offer for developers of other projects? And that's a really good question because we actually want to bring in developers into this project. We want to be able to um, have this as a foundation that developers can work out of, where they don't have to worry about how we're functioning better than Solana or anything like that. They just need to enjoy it and develop in it. Um, so there's a couple things. So we are going to be offering advertising to developers, individual developers, and companies. One of the ways is simply that some companies are restricted from doing DeFi on top of IEOs, right? IEOs, initial exchange offerings, such as Solana, are not very decentralized. They're quite centralized, and they come with a lot of regulation. Solana is highly regulated. You actually have to KYC to use some of the staking features in Solana, for instance. So we've removed that. We removed all the KYC. That's done. KYC's gone. So you can have all the features of Solana without the KYC. You can have all the features of Solana without having to deal with the regulation of an IEO. And of course, you can get things done way, way cheaper, right? So, Solana is very, very expensive. We can offer all the same features, and you can be involved in it without having to invest enormous sums of money. At least in the early days, that's something we can offer. So yeah, some of the key advantages we have are obviously all of the advantages of Solana, which is speed, low fees. We also offer better decentralization. We offer less regulation, um, and we offer um, lower cost to get invested into the project. So those are some of the advantages at this stage. Um, Moving forward, once we start changing things like proof of history, we may actually be able to offer better performance. Um, so I think that answers the question for developers, and obviously, the advantage for validators is vastly reduced resource costs. So you can set up a validator on Safecoin for a fraction of the cost of what it would cost on Solana. Solana uses 160 terabytes per year. Safecoin uses 2 terabytes per year, as an example. Next question from D is, maybe you already have some thoughts about where we can expect any partnerships with other projects that will be interested in the capabilities of our blockchain. Um, yes, absolutely. So, we have been having some initial conversations with some of the validators in Solana. We expect to eventually form partnerships either with Solana or with third parties in Solana. And so far, where we're having, most of the conversations there is with the third parties. So people who are associated with Solana, but not necessarily only with them. There's actual companies set up entirely for running Solana validators, and those some of those companies have approached us, and they want to run Safecoin validators as well. So those are some of the early partnerships we're seeing. Conversations I'm having right now. Now that will change once we start to put out more of our features. So the validators are, of course, very exciting at the start. There'll be a lot of focus on that, but then we're very quickly going to move into more important use cases like SafeSwap. Um, and I mean, the first thing with SafeSwap is we're going to have all of the coins, all of the coins involved in Safe Trade, I think are going to be offered um, the ability to move into SafeSwap. Um, but it will grow from there substantially because what you end up having is, yeah, an attractiveness to companies, because a lot of these smart contracts are actually, run by companies. So I think what we're looking at doing is, and you see this on some of the other chains as well, we're going to actually set up a website um, where you can get started moving from Ethereum, for instance, onto Safecoin. So we'd like to create a bit of a guide for companies and people interested in partnering with us to move their smart contracts from Ethereum over to us. Um, as well, we could potentially expand on that. We were talking today about creating a SafeCoin starter program. So that's something that's in our code. It's the ability to create basically um, a startup, basically a funding thing, right? So you can create on-chain funding. Now, of course, we might utilize that ourselves. We might seek for funding ourselves on there, but also allow other entities to seek for funding right on our chain. Um, it can happen very fast. It doesn't cost much. It's all decentralized. Um, so, yeah, those are some of the things we're looking at. Um, in terms of forming, now I do have to put a little caution, and there's not much time here. The word partnership itself probably won't be used by the Safecoin project. And it's not because Safecoin isn't business friendly. Safecoin is incredibly business friendly. And it's only because decentralization is so important to us. Safecoin is decentralized. It is not actually possible to form a partnership with Safecoin. Safecoin is not a single entity that can be partnered with. SafeSwap can form partnerships. Safe Trade can form partnerships. There are ways to do partnerships, um, just not directly with the SafeCoin project, but using SafeCoin technology. Just wanted to be clear on that. Uh, but is SafeCoin business friendly? Actually, that's one of the reasons SafeCoin is business friendly is because it doesn't have that same kind of regulation. Okay, guys, we are at the hour mark. I really want to thank you guys very much for your time. You guys have just been absolutely amazing. We see so much excitement building every week. It grows all the time. We're going to be doing a lot more marketing to make sure that every single SafeCoin holder knows what's happening here. When we're confident of that, then we're going to move on to other kinds of marketing, moving into businesses everywhere else. Yeah, you're just incredible. I can't thank you enough. It's I gotta say 2021, just with this new chain and everything we're doing and this year, like crypto's actually fun again right now. I think people are having fun in crypto. I enjoy it every day and I look forward to it. And I'm actually taking a two month leave from my regular work. And I hope to see a lot more of you guys in that time. Um, I will talk to you soon. Thanks again, guys. Have a great Saturday.